In the swamps and back alleys of Louisiana, there exists a world largely hidden from the public eye, a realm where the remnants of centuries-old voodoo practices continue to be observed, practiced, and guarded fiercely. While popular culture often reduces voodoo to caricatured dolls or magic curses, the reality is far more complex, blending spirituality, ancestral tradition, and ritualized power in ways that outsiders rarely witness. For those living in these communities, voodoo is not merely superstition. It is a framework for understanding relationships, managing conflict, and interacting with forces that are considered beyond ordinary perception. Within this hidden world, certain rituals carry a reputation that evokes both fear and respect, particularly those known for their potential to influence events in ways that are considered dangerous or irreversible. One such ritual, documented through oral histories and interviews with long-standing practitioners, involves a process of spiritual negotiation that can directly impact the fortunes, health, and relationships of those involved. Participants describe the ritual as an exchange, a carefully measured offering made to spirits or ancestral forces, with precise gestures, incantations, and objects chosen for their symbolic resonance. Every element matters: the timing of the ritual, the type of candle used, the sequence of words spoken, and the selection of herbs or personal tokens. Observers from outside the practice are often struck by the intensity of focus required. A single misstep, whether accidental or intentional, can change the outcome entirely, sometimes producing results that participants describe as uncanny or even terrifying. Historically, these dangerous rituals have been employed in contexts of both protection and vengeance. Families might seek guidance to safeguard themselves against illness, theft, or betrayal, while others might approach the ritual with the intent to influence an adversary or manipulate circumstances in ways that bypass legal or social norms. The ritual's efficacy is tied not only to the skill of the practitioner but also to the perceived willingness of spiritual forces to act, creating a dynamic tension between human intention and supernatural response. Accounts collected from practitioners emphasize that the ritual is rarely undertaken lightly. It carries moral and practical consequences that are considered binding, and many in the community warn against casual experimentation. What makes this ritual particularly striking is its persistence. Despite decades of external scrutiny, law enforcement intervention, and cultural marginalization, certain families and spiritual leaders continue to practice and pass down these methods. Their secrecy is enforced by a combination of trust, respect for lineage, and the tangible results that participants claim to observe. Outsiders may not fully grasp the complex ethical and symbolic rules that govern the ritual, but within the communities that preserve it, these rules are critical. They define who may participate, how offerings are made, and the degree of control exerted over outcomes. Breaking these codes is believed to invite consequences that are immediate and unavoidable, a deterrent that has preserved the ritual's integrity for generations. Modern researchers who have studied these practices often emphasize that they represent a hybrid of African, Caribbean, and indigenous influences, blending cosmologies, spiritual hierarchies, and ritual forms into something uniquely adapted to the cultural and environmental landscape of Louisiana. The dangerous ritual exemplifies this fusion, combining elements of divination, symbolic representation, and spiritual negotiation into a procedure that is both highly structured and deeply personal. Anthropologists note that the ritual's design reflects a profound understanding of human psychology, communal interaction, and the perception of risk, an understanding developed over centuries and maintained through careful oral transmission. These elements contribute to the sense of danger, not as a mere superstition, but as a reflection of the ritual's real-world potency. Within this context, the most intriguing aspect is how the ritual interacts with belief. Practitioners report that the ritual's effects depend as much on the intent and focus of those performing it as on the spiritual forces invoked. A poorly directed effort may fail, while one conducted with precision and respect can produce outcomes that seem inexplicable to outsiders. In some accounts, participants describe events that appear to respond to the ritual in real time: fortunes shifting, illnesses abating, disputes resolving, leading to a reputation that is equal parts awe and caution. The line between spiritual influence and observable consequence becomes blurred, leaving observers to grapple with whether the power lies in the ritual itself, the practitioner's skill, or a combination of both. The setting itself reinforces the gravity of the practice. Swamps, bayous, and urban neighborhoods provide spaces that are both secluded and symbolically resonant, offering practitioners a controlled environment in which the ritual can unfold with minimal interference. The natural world, water, vegetation, weather, and animal life, is often incorporated into the ritual, reflecting a worldview in which the human and spirit realms are interconnected. Oral histories suggest that practitioners pay attention to environmental cues, seasonal cycles, and ancestral precedents, ensuring that every ritual is performed in alignment with forces considered greater than human control. The dangerous ritual, in this sense, is not a casual or isolated act but a deeply embedded tradition that demands respect for both community and cosmos. As one delves deeper into the hidden world of Louisiana voodoo, the distinction between danger and respect becomes central. The ritual's perceived risk is not merely a product of folklore, it is a function of centuries of careful transmission, ethical boundaries, and observed outcomes. Practitioners warn that misusing the ritual can invite harm, not through malice, but as a consequence of failing to navigate the intricate rules that govern interaction with spiritual forces. For those who honor these rules, the ritual is a tool for protection, insight, and resolution. For those who ignore them, it is a force that is unpredictable, formidable, and enduring. This duality, the promise of power and the threat of consequence, is what has allowed the ritual to survive largely unseen, guarding its secrets while continuing to shape the lives of those who practice it with reverence. As the ritual continues to survive in the hidden corners of Louisiana, its effects extend far beyond what outsiders can imagine. For those within the community, it is not simply a performance or a superstition. It functions as a system of spiritual negotiation that influences both the tangible and the intangible. Individuals seeking the ritual's guidance often approach it with extreme care, understanding that its outcomes can affect personal fortune, health, and social relationships in ways that are considered profound and irreversible. Oral histories collected from elder practitioners describe experiences in which the ritual appeared to respond to human intention, amplifying desires, resolving disputes, or averting misfortune. These accounts emphasize that the ritual is not a casual or recreational practice. It requires preparation, focus, and adherence to strict behavioral protocols that have been handed down across generations. The dangerous aspect of the ritual is not in dramatized acts or theatrical gestures, but in its real-world consequences. Accounts from those who have observed it describe events that are difficult to explain through conventional means. A family might report that a previously failing business suddenly began to prosper after the ritual was performed, only for the individual responsible to experience exhaustion, illness, or social tension in the weeks that followed. Another account details a dispute between neighbors that was resolved after the ritual, but not without unexpected complications. Relationships shifted in ways that were unanticipated, creating new conflicts even as the original problem appeared resolved. These outcomes reinforce the reputation of the ritual as dangerous. It is not inherently harmful, but it operates according to a logic that participants must respect, one that treats intention as a force with tangible consequences, rather than a symbolic or metaphorical gesture. Scholars who have studied these practices note that they represent a sophisticated understanding of human psychology, community dynamics, and environmental awareness. The ritual is designed to be adaptable, sensitive to the specific circumstances and goals of the participants, and to respond to the larger context in which it is performed. This adaptability makes it difficult for outsiders to predict or control, further enhancing its mystique and its reputation for danger. Researchers report that even minor deviations from established protocols can produce unexpected outcomes, suggesting that the ritual is highly contingent on precise execution and the discipline of those performing it. Such sensitivity has historically limited the ritual to trusted practitioners who are trained from a young age in the community, ensuring that its power is neither misused nor trivialized. The survival of the ritual in modern times is remarkable given the social, legal, and cultural pressures that could have suppressed it entirely. For centuries, external authorities, including law enforcement and religious institutions, viewed the practice with suspicion and at times actively sought to eradicate it. Nevertheless, families and spiritual leaders continued to pass it down in secrecy, adapting the rituals to contemporary circumstances while preserving their essential structure and intent. Interviews with current practitioners reveal that the ritual continues to function as it did centuries ago, maintaining its dual nature of empowerment and risk. The community safeguards its secrecy not merely for preservation, but because the consequences of exposure, both social and spiritual, are considered severe. The environment in which the ritual is performed further underscores its intensity. The swamps, back roads, and secluded areas of Louisiana provide spaces that are physically removed from interference and symbolically connected to ancestral traditions. Practitioners engage with the natural world as an active participant in the ritual, attending to elements such as the direction of the wind, the flow of water, or the behavior of animals. These environmental cues are interpreted as meaningful indicators that guide the ritual's progression. Observers describe a profound attentiveness during the ceremony, in which every gesture, sound, and movement is carefully calibrated. The careful observation of surroundings reinforces the seriousness of the ritual and the perception of danger for those who are unprepared or inattentive. What distinguishes this ritual from more familiar or publicized practices is its capacity to directly influence human decisions and social outcomes. Practitioners emphasize that the ritual is a tool of intention, requiring both discipline and respect. Misapplication or overreach is believed to bring consequences that are immediate and unavoidable. For example, an individual who seeks excessive personal gain without regard for community or spiritual protocol may experience failure, illness, or strained relationships as a result of their actions. Conversely, those who approach the ritual with humility and adherence to tradition may experience positive outcomes, whether in the form of protection, clarity, or resolution of complex interpersonal issues. The duality of potential benefit and inherent risk is what has allowed the ritual to endure, quietly and effectively, within the hidden world of Louisiana voodoo, maintaining its power across generations while remaining largely unseen by outsiders. Over the years, researchers and anthropologists who have studied voodoo in Louisiana have begun to understand the broader implications of these dangerous rituals. They are not merely relics of the past, preserved for their cultural or historical value. They function as living systems that integrate spiritual insight with practical decision-making. Practitioners describe a heightened awareness of their surroundings, an ability to anticipate the actions of others, and a sense of clarity that seems to surpass ordinary perception. This heightened perception is not granted automatically. It emerges from the disciplined observance of ritual protocols, the timing of actions, and the careful alignment of intention with practice. Even minor deviations can alter outcomes, which is why trust, patience, and training are so critical in communities that continue these practices today. The ritual's dangerous reputation is reinforced by accounts of unexpected consequences, even when intentions are well-meaning. For instance, families seeking to protect a loved one from illness might perform the ritual with precision, only to find that while the immediate concern is alleviated, new complications emerge elsewhere. Social dynamics may shift unexpectedly. Conflicts between friends or neighbors may resolve, but in ways that produce tension in previously harmonious relationships. Such outcomes are interpreted within the community as the natural operation of forces engaged during the ritual, a reminder that spiritual power is intertwined with human responsibility. These lessons underscore the principle that the ritual is not simply a mechanism for obtaining what one desires, but a system in which every action has consequence, often beyond immediate comprehension. What distinguishes this voodoo practice from more familiar ceremonial forms is its highly adaptive nature. Unlike rituals designed for performance or public observance, this one adjusts to the context in which it is enacted. Environmental factors, social conditions, and personal intent all influence its effect, creating a dynamic interaction between the practitioner, the participants, and the unseen forces invoked. Anthropologists note that this flexibility enhances both the perceived efficacy and the risk associated with the ritual. Outsiders may observe a seemingly ordinary ceremony and fail to grasp its complexity, leading to misunderstandings, fear, or sensationalized accounts that exaggerate danger. Within the community, however, these subtleties are well understood, forming a body of knowledge that is carefully guarded and transmitted only to those deemed responsible enough to handle it. The continuity of the ritual over generations is remarkable. Despite historical attempts at suppression by religious authorities, law enforcement, and outside observers, practitioners have preserved the integrity of the practice through secrecy, mentorship, and selective participation. Children born into these communities are gradually introduced to ritual principles and ethical responsibilities, ensuring that understanding accompanies practice. This transmission is not merely educational, it is protective. Individuals are taught to respect the limits of their influence, to avoid exploiting the ritual for personal gain at the expense of others, and to maintain a balance between spiritual work and daily life. These principles ensure that while the ritual remains powerful, it does not become chaotic or destructive within the community itself. The dangerous ritual also demonstrates a profound connection to place. Louisiana's swamps, bayous, and urban neighborhoods provide both privacy and resonance, reinforcing the ritual's power. Practitioners often describe the land as a partner in their work, noting that natural features such as the flow of water, the presence of particular trees, or the behavior of local wildlife contribute meaningfully to the ceremony. These environmental cues are integrated into the ritual in ways that amplify both intention and effect, creating a complex interplay between human action and natural circumstance. Observers report that the ritual requires acute attentiveness, with every gesture, step, and word calibrated in accordance with environmental and temporal signals. The landscape becomes an active participant, reinforcing the perception of danger for those who are unaware or unprepared. Perhaps the most compelling aspect of the ritual is its ethical dimension. Practitioners consistently emphasize that the ceremony must be approached with respect, mindfulness, and responsibility. Attempts to manipulate outcomes purely for personal advantage are believed to backfire, producing results that may be subtle or dramatic, but always corrective. In contrast, those who engage with humility, focus, and alignment with the community's norms report that outcomes often provide guidance, protection, or resolution in ways that feel precise and meaningful. This duality, power tempered by accountability, is central to the ritual's enduring influence. It ensures that while the ceremony is potentially dangerous, it also cultivates wisdom, discipline, and respect, allowing it to survive largely unseen, yet profoundly effective, in the hidden world of Louisiana voodoo. Today, the dangerous voodoo ritual in Louisiana continues to exist largely beyond the view of outsiders, preserved by families and spiritual leaders who understand both its power and its risks. Its survival is a testament to careful transmission across generations, guided by respect, discipline, and adherence to strict ethical principles. Participants emphasize that the ritual is not a tool for casual gain or entertainment. It is a method for navigating life, resolving complex social conflicts, and protecting oneself and the community from unseen forces. Every gesture, word, and observation matters, and each act is framed within a moral context that ensures the ritual remains both meaningful and safe for those trained to perform it correctly. The enduring relevance of the ritual lies in its capacity to heighten perception and influence outcomes in ways that feel tangible and immediate to practitioners. Families and community members who rely on the ritual report experiences of clarity, guidance, and protection, balanced by the knowledge that missteps or misuse can have consequences that are unavoidable. Unlike more publicized or theatrical ceremonies, this ritual is deeply personal and context-sensitive, requiring practitioners to align their intent with the natural environment, social dynamics, and the community's ethical framework. Its danger is not sensational but inherent, embedded in the complex interplay between human intention and the perceived responsiveness of spiritual forces. What makes the ritual particularly fascinating is how it has adapted without losing its core principles. Secrecy, mentorship, and careful observation preserve the integrity of the practice while allowing it to function in modern contexts. Its principles continue to shape behavior, decision-making, and community relationships, maintaining a balance between empowerment and accountability. Even as the world changes around it, the ritual retains its potency, reminding us that spiritual systems can endure not by exposure or spectacle, but through discipline, respect, and ethical stewardship. Ultimately, the dangerous voodoo ritual serves as a living connection to centuries of ancestral knowledge. It demonstrates that spiritual practice is not merely about belief, but about active engagement, responsibility, and the recognition that power carries consequence. In the hidden world of Louisiana, it continues to teach lessons about focus, humility, and the careful use of influence, lessons that remain as relevant today as they were for the practitioners who first performed the ceremony, long before outsiders ever attempted to understand it.